Hey, beautiful souls. Welcome to Signals and Standards with Suzie, the show where we decode mixed messages, raise the bar, and serve up real talk with a side of empowerment. I'm your host, Suzie, your go-to for truth bombs, clarity, and the kind of tough love that gets you unstuck and back in the driver's seat of your life. Together, let's turn those signals into action. Hey there, friends. Welcome back to Signals and Standards with Suzie, the place where we get real about life, relationships, and the choices that shape our happiness. I'm so glad you've carved out this time for yourself today because what we're talking about today is close to my heart and probably close to yours too. Today's episode is about creating empowered connections in order to rise above loneliness. Loneliness. It's something many of us feel at some point, whether we're single, surrounded by people, or even in relationships. Some are calling it a loneliness epidemic. But here's the empowering truth. You don't have to stay stuck in that space. It may feel horrible and challenging right now, but you can rise above it. You really can. You can build authentic connections that uplift, inspire, and truly nourish your soul. It is possible. It really, really is. In this episode, we're diving into loneliness recovery, exploring how to make real friends, and uncovering the path to authentic, meaningful relationships. Like with every week, I'll answer your questions, share a coaching story, some lessons learned. I'll share some personal experiences and, wrap it all up with powerful affirmation to carry you long after this episode ends. I just want you to know that you're not alone. And you're not the only one who feels these things. Just stick around and you'll see why and how. So let's get started. Loneliness isn't just about being physically alone. It's about feeling emotionally disconnected, even when you're in a crowd. You can have friends all around you, scroll through endless social media feeds, or even be in a relationship and still feel that aching emptiness inside you. That internal voice that whispers, I'm unseen, I'm unheard, I'm not enough. And that's exactly what makes loneliness so tricky. It's invisible to everyone else, but it's devastating to you. Experts describe loneliness as a discrepancy between the social connections you have and the ones you actually need. It's not about the number of people in your life. It's about the depth and authenticity of those relationships. You might have hundreds of acquaintances or hundreds of online friends, but if they don't really see or understand you, loneliness can feel worse than if you were physically alone. Social media, while theoretically connecting us, often exacerbates this feeling. Studies show that excessive social media use can increase feelings of isolation because we're constantly comparing ourselves to curated snapshots of other people's lives. That highlight reel effect creates a subtle but powerful reminder that something is missing. And that missing piece is a real, authentic connection. While it's true that we're living in a time where people are more connected than ever, many are lonelier than ever before. Social media was designed to bring us closer, but studies have shown it often does the opposite. Instead of meaningful conversations and authentic presence, we scroll through highlight reels, compare ourselves to others, and feel the sting of exclusion when we're not included in the narrative. Harvard researchers have even pointed out that this kind of digital connection lacks the depth our brains and hearts crave. Likes and emojis simply don't replace real eye contact or a genuine hug. What's left is a strange paradox, surrounded by noise, but starving for true connection. And there's the impact of the pandemic lockdowns, which disrupted social patterns worldwide. For many, it was a forced pause that revealed how fragile and surface level some of their relationships were. Add to that the fast-paced, productivity-obsessed culture we live in today, where busyness is a badge of honor, and people are often too drained to nurture deeper bonds with others. So, is it social media? Is it the aftermath of lockdowns? Or is it simply that the vibe of our culture has shifted towards isolation and self-reliance? The answer is likely a mix of all three. But here's the empowering truth. Recognizing these forces gives us back our power. Once you see how these dynamics shape loneliness, you can begin to intentionally create authentic connections that cut through the noise. No excuses. So why are people lonely? Is it a choice? I've written extensively about how people cling to relationships or friendships that are convenient or superficial to feel less alone. Maybe it's a friend who's always there to text at midnight but disappears when real support is needed. Perhaps it's dating a partner who fills time but not your heart. These fillers give temporary relief, but they don't heal the root of loneliness. And here's the aha moment. The cure isn't more people. It's better, more empowered connections. Authenticity is the key. When you rise above loneliness, you stop chasing fillers and start creating space for people who truly get you. It's about forming connections where you feel seen, heard, and valued for exactly who you are, flaws, quirks, and all. And that is liberating because it shifts the power back to you. Instead of relying on others to fix your loneliness, you're stepping into a proactive role in your own life. Here's another insight. Loneliness can actually serve as a signal rather than a weakness. Think of it as your inner compass, nudging you toward what you truly need, deeper, more aligned connections. Harvard researchers note that loneliness is not just a personal feeling, but also a societal issue. Modern life, with more people living alone, higher mobility, and the decline of long-term community ties, has intensified our isolation. Yet, the personal responsibility remains. How we respond to this signal determines whether loneliness debilitates us or empowers us. Science confirms that meaningful connections are critical for both mental and physical health. Research shows that social support can reduce stress, enhance your mood, and even strengthen your immune system. That means rising above loneliness isn't just a feel-good aspiration, it's essential for your well-being. So how do you take action? The first step is self-connection. Understand your values, your needs, and your boundaries. The better you know yourself, the more naturally you'll attract people who are aligned with your energy and intentions. This is why rising above loneliness often begins with introspection, such as journaling, reflection, meditation, or even coaching. When you identify what truly nourishes you, you stop chasing people who drain you or distract you from your growth. Next comes intentionality of your social life. So you want to seek out spaces where like-minded people gather, like classes, volunteer opportunities, hobby groups, or even professional communities. These are fertile grounds for connections that go beyond surface level conversations. Every intentional step you take creates room for quality relationships rather than quantity. Finally, recognize the subtle but profound mental shift that occurs when you stop seeing loneliness as a flaw. Instead, see it as an invitation, a chance to upgrade your connections, refine your energy, and build the kind of relational life you deserve. Each small action, whether it's showing up for yourself or stepping into a new community, is a brick in the foundation of empowered, authentic connections. What makes loneliness even more relatable is that it doesn't always look like what we'd expect. I've talked to so many clients who are busy with packed schedules, friends, and dating lives, yet they still feel that quiet emptiness at the end of the day. Maybe it's lying in bed scrolling through social media, seeing everyone else laughing with friends, traveling, or celebrating milestones, and feeling like you're somehow missing out. That's a widespread experience, and it's important to know that it's not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of the fact that your heart is craving depth, not noise, not convenience, but real, meaningful connection. And here's something that might surprise you. Even when we're brave enough to put ourselves out there, loneliness can show up again. I recall a time in my life when I joined a new community group, hoping it would fill that gap, but I still felt the pang of isolation. But what shifted was my perspective. Instead of expecting people to instantly fix the loneliness, I started focusing on how I could connect authentically and intentionally. I began noticing small but powerful moments, a genuine laugh, someone remembering my name, a shared story that resonated. Those little sparks over time built real connections that mattered. That's the thing about loneliness. It's often in the small intentional actions that the transformation happens. And that's what makes the journey both real and relatable. The takeaway here is transformative. Loneliness is not the enemy. It's a signal, a teacher, and an invitation to rise above it. When you respond with intention, self-awareness, and authenticity, isolation transforms into empowerment. And that's when you create a life full of deep, meaningful, soul-nourishing relationships that support your growth and joy. Please take a deep breath with me for a moment and think of yourself, not the person you're trying to impress, not the friend you feel you need to show up for, not the perfect social media version of yourself, just you, sitting here, fully present. Notice how that feels. Loneliness can be overwhelming, but acknowledging it, honoring it, and permitting yourself to feel it is the first step towards moving beyond it. Reflect on the connections in your life, the ones that lift you and the ones that leave you drained, and ask yourself, am I prioritizing the relationships that truly nourish me? Take a second to ask yourself. Welcome back, friends. I hope that music and a moment of reflection gave you a little space to pause and check in with yourself. Now let's dive into some of your questions, the real life experiences that you've shared. And remember, you can always send me your questions anytime at powercoachsuzie.com. Let's get started. First question. I feel really lonely and I'm kind of embarrassed about it. What's wrong with me? First, let me say this with love. There is absolutely nothing to be embarrassed about. Loneliness is part of the human condition, not a personal failure. In fact, psychologists describe loneliness as a biological signal, much like hunger or thirst, that tells us we need a connection to thrive. Just as your body craves food when it's hungry, Your heart craves authentic connection when it feels isolated. So when you notice loneliness, it's not a weakness. It's your body and your mind reminding you of what truly nourishes you. The first step is to acknowledge it without judgment. Psychological research shows that people who suppress or deny their loneliness tend to feel it more intensely, while those who name it and explore it are more likely to find relief. Try saying out loud, "I feel lonely right now," or write it in your journal. I've often shared how journaling your emotions is one of the most empowering acts you can take. It gives your feelings a container and helps you move from vague discomfort to clarity. For example, instead of a foggy sense of emptiness, you might realize, "I want deeper conversation," or "I miss physical closeness." That's powerful information. It tells you what kind of connection to seek. Once you've named the feeling, the next step is building a strong foundation of self-care. Studies in positive psychology show that when you engage in activities that lift your mood, like walking outside, meditating, or doing something creative, you increase your brain's dopamine and serotonin, which help regulate your emotions and make you more open to connection. Self-care isn't just treating yourself, it's rewiring your inner state so you show up to relationships from a place of strength rather than desperation. As I often tell my coaching clients, when you fill your own cup first, the connections you create come from the overflow, not emptiness. Then comes action, because loneliness rarely dissolves if you wait for someone else to notice it. Take small intentional steps. Reach out to a friend or relative and say, "I'd love to spend time together." Invite someone for a coffee. Maybe join a local meetup or even strike up a short conversation while waiting in line. It doesn't have to be a grand gesture. In fact, science shows that micro connections, like brief positive interactions with strangers, can significantly boost feelings of belonging and reduce loneliness over time. Every little interaction plants a seed. Finally, consider joining communities built around your passions, whether it's a book club, a dance class, a volunteer project, or even an online group for something you love. Shared experiences create natural, authentic bonds. I often remind people that it's not about collecting acquaintances. It's about building a few deep, empowered connections. Consistency is the secret here. When people see you show up regularly, trust and familiarity grow, and real friendships start to form. Here's the empowering truth. The moment you stop hiding your loneliness and start meeting it with awareness, self-care, and action, you reclaim your power. Loneliness no longer defines you, it guides you. And when you see it as a signal, not a shame, you unlock the door to the kind of authentic, soul-feeding connections that you've been longing for. Here's our second question. I'm surrounded by people, but I still feel alone. What's wrong with me? A lot of people think there's something wrong with them, but there really isn't. It's completely normal. And here's the liberating truth. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. Feeling lonely in a crowd is one of the most common, yet least talked about experiences in our society. It can feel jarring to be surrounded by conversation, laughter, even affection, and still feel like you're on the outside looking in. But you're not broken, and you're not too much, and you're not enough. What you're experiencing is a very human response to a deeper need that isn't being met. Research shows that loneliness has very little to do with the number of people in your life and almost everything to do with the quality of those connections. You could have a full social calendar and dozens of people around you and still feel profoundly unseen if those interactions don't touch the depth and authenticity your soul is craving. What you're really experiencing is a mismatch between what's available to you and what you truly desire. Maybe you're surrounded by acquaintances, colleagues, or even longtime friends who all share jokes, small talk, and memories, but not your truths. Perhaps the people around you are constantly distracted, emotionally unavailable, or simply not aligned with your values anymore. Maybe you're just not compatible. What it means really is not that you're hard to love. It also doesn't mean you're destined to feel empty. What it means is that your spirit is calling for more, for conversations and relationships that nourish, and for spaces where you don't have to edit yourself to be accepted. One thing that struck me in things I've read on the subject is the difference between people who are fillers and those who are fulfillers. Fillers are those people or situations that keep you busy but leave you empty. They check the box of companionship but don't leave a mark on your heart. Fulfillers, on the other hand, are the ones who elevate you. They see you clearly, they hear you deeply, and inspire you to be your fullest self. Fulfillers don't just sit at the table with you. They share the meal of life in a way that feels nourishing. And one of my favorite quotes sums it up beautifully. Surround yourself with people who feel like sunshine. When you do, you'll notice your entire emotional landscape begin to shift. The path forward begins with conscious choice and courageous self-awareness. Start by asking yourself 2 powerful questions. Who in my life energizes me? Who in my life drains me? Answer honestly without judgment. You may realize that certain relationships you've been holding on to out of habit or guilt are actually amplifying your loneliness. Psychology research confirms that maintaining unfulfilling or even draining connections can intensify feelings of isolation because they constantly highlight the gap between what you're experiencing and what you're longing for. It may feel uncomfortable, even painful, to step back from these surface level bonds, but by doing so, you create space for authentic connections to enter. And here's the truth most people overlook. Empowered connections don't happen by accident. They happen by alignment. When you know who you are, what you value, and what you need emotionally, you begin to naturally attract people operating on that same frequency. Think of your relationships like a garden. If you keep planting seeds in soil that can't sustain growth, you'll always end up disappointed, no matter how much effort you pour in. But once you clear the weeds, nourish the ground, and plant with intention, what grows will be abundant, meaningful, and sustaining. And just like a garden, your relationships require care, patience, and discernment. You don't have to water every plant equally. You focus on the ones that thrive and give life back to you. So if you're feeling lonely in a crowd, remember, it's not about fixing yourself. It's about aligning yourself. It's about shifting from fillers to fulfillers, from noise to nourishment, from being surrounded to truly being seen. And that shift is always within your reach. Here's our third and final question. How do I make real friends as an adult? It feels impossible. This is such a relatable question. One I hear from so many people. Making real friends as an adult isn't impossible, but it is intentional. Unlike school, adulthood doesn't automatically place us in communities where friendship happens naturally. You don't have a dorm down the hall or classmates sitting beside you every day. Instead, our lives often revolve around work, family, and routines, which can make it feel harder to meet people on the same wavelength. Psychologists point out that adults need to be deliberate in creating opportunities for connection. And the good news is there are more ways than ever to do this if you're willing to step outside your comfort zone. Start by getting clear on your values and passions. Real friendships thrive when they're rooted in shared meaning. Ask yourself, what lights me up? What could I talk about for hours without getting bored? What kind of people feel energizing to be around? When you're grounded in those answers, you know where to go looking. For example, if you love reading, join a local book club or a virtual discussion group. If fitness is important to you, check out a yoga class, a spin studio, or a hiking group. If creativity excites you, try a painting workshop, a cooking class, or even a pottery night. These are natural spaces where like-minded people gather, and that's where authentic friendships are born. Volunteering is another powerful avenue. One of my clients who felt disconnected joined a weekend food bank program. She didn't just give her time, she found herself alongside people with the same compassion and values. Over time, those shared Saturday mornings turned into dinner invites and genuine friendships. It's proof that when you show up where your values live, you'll find others who resonate with your heart. Consistency is key here. Studies show that people form deeper bonds through shared experiences and repeated exposure, not quick introductions. Think of it this way. It's not the one-off conversation at a party that creates friendship. It's seeing someone week after week at your running club or evening class. Familiarity builds trust, and trust builds connection. So instead of scattering your energy across one-time events, commit to showing up regularly in one or two places where you generally like to meet people. Now here's the part that requires courage. You have to take initiative. A lot of adults sit back waiting for someone else to make the first move, but friendships are built where you show interest. That might mean sending a quick text like, I really enjoyed chatting with you today. Want to grab a coffee sometime? Or after meeting someone at a community event, following up with, there's another event next week. Would you want to go together? These small actions are the equivalent of planting seeds. Not every seed will grow, but some will, and those are the ones that matter. Think of this like building muscle. The more you practice, taking those small risks, extending an invite, introducing yourself, maybe even asking a thoughtful question, the easier it will get. At first, it may feel awkward, of course, but each attempt builds your confidence and increases the chances of finding someone who clicks. Don't forget that self-care also plays a role here. When you're feeling confident, rested, and grounded, you're more open to connection and less likely to slip into fear of rejection. Try keeping a journal where you reflect on what feels good in your relationships and what really doesn't. Move your body regularly to release stress and boost your mood. Practice mindfulness or meditation so you stay present when meeting new people, instead of letting nerves take over. These small rituals strengthen your inner world, making the outer world of connection less intimidating. And remember, you don't have to overhaul your life all at once. Baby steps are powerful. Start with new things. Start with one new class maybe, one conversation, or one invitation. If that feels too big, start by simply smiling and saying hello to someone at your local cafe or gym. Every step outside your comfort zone is a win, and over time, these little efforts add up. Here are some little things you can do this week. Smile and say hello to one stranger you pass at a cafe, gym, or park, or even a neighbor. Invite a colleague or acquaintance to grab a coffee or lunch, or even a classmate. Share one genuine compliment with someone you'd like to connect with personally or professionally. For example, you can say, I love your perspective on that. It really made me think. The truth is, real friendships in adulthood are less about quantity and more about quality. You don't need dozens of people around you to feel fulfilled. What you need is a few who truly see, hear, and value you for who you are. And those people are out there. Sometimes they're sitting next to you at the community center. Sometimes they're behind you in a yoga class. Sometimes they're at a volunteer shift you almost didn't sign up for. The key is showing up, being intentional, and trusting that when you lead with your authentic self, the right connections will naturally find you. But you need to take action. So let's take a moment to breathe and really sit with this. Loneliness isn't a flaw. It's a messenger, gently nudging you towards the connections that truly nourish your soul. Imagine the kind of people you want around you. Those who feel like sunshine, who lift you rather than drain you. Think about the small intentional steps you could take today, whether it's reaching out to someone, joining a group, or simply noticing the connections already around you. Each little action is a choice to step towards richer, more authentic social life. Welcome back, friends. I hope you've been sitting with those reflections and letting them sink in. Now it's time for our coaching moment, where we take real-life experiences, dive deep, and uncover the lessons that help you rise above loneliness and create the empowered connections that you deserve. One of my coaching clients came to me feeling completely overwhelmed by loneliness. She worked in a bustling office, surrounded by colleagues and acquaintances, but none of her relationships felt genuine. She even admitted that she sometimes stayed in draining dating situations or friendships to avoid feeling isolated. Can you relate? You can be busy and still feel that quiet, gnawing emptiness when the people around you aren't really connecting with your heart. We started by flipping her focus. Instead of chasing a connection to fill a void, I encouraged her to ask herself, what genuinely lights me up? What makes me feel alive? We talked about her passions, her curiosities, and the things she had always wanted to try but kept putting off. One thing she mentioned was dancing, something she'd always wanted to explore but had pushed aside for years. I encouraged her to take a small intentional step. Sign up for a community dance class. That step alone was powerful because it was an action rooted in joy, not an obligation. Not only did she rediscover a sense of play and excitement, but she also naturally met people who shared her energy and enthusiasm. One of those classmates became a close friend, someone who truly supported her and reflected the kind of connection she had been craving. Her story teaches a vital coaching lesson. When you empower yourself first, the right connections follow naturally. Loneliness isn't something to fix externally. It's a signal pointing you towards alignment. You begin by prioritizing your own growth, joy, and energy. And suddenly, the people who resonate with you start to appear. I've been there too. There was a time when my calendar was full, packed with events, meetings, social obligations, but my heart was empty. I was so busy, but not truly connected. It wasn't until I got clear on my standards for relationships and friendships that everything shifted. I started saying no to surface level people and yes to fewer but deeper, stronger connections. That intentional choice changed everything in my life. Here's what I want you to take away and put into practice today. Number 1, identify what lights you up. So like something like making a list of activities, hobbies, experiences that excite you, not what you think you should do, but what makes your heart sing. Number 2 is take one small intentional step. Sign up for that class, reach out to that friend, or attend a group you've been curious about. Baby steps count. Number 3, prioritize self-connection first. So journal your feelings, reflect on your needs, and nurture yourself. When you show up fully for yourself, you naturally attract people who reflect that energy. Number 4, be intentional with your relationships. So what this looks like is surrounding yourself with people who feel like sunshine, those who lift you up, inspire you, energize you. Let go of those connections that drain your energy or just bring bad vibes into your life. Number 5, consistency matters. Meaningful connections take time and shared experiences. Keep showing up, keep investing in your growth, and keep being open to new people who align with your energy. Her journey, and mine, shows that rising above loneliness isn't about avoiding being alone. It's about stepping into your power and creating a space for joy, attracting empowered connections naturally. Each small conscious choice moves you closer to authentic friendships and relationships that nourish your soul. Remember, you are capable of this transformation. You can rise above loneliness, create meaningful connections, and build a circle of people who truly reflect your energy and values. Stand in your power and watch the right people come to you. As we wrap up today's episode, let's take a moment to breathe and really let this sink in. I said that a lot in this episode, but it really makes a difference. Loneliness is not a flaw or a weakness. It's a signal. It's your heart's way of saying you're ready for deeper, more authentic, and soul-nourishing connections. It's not about how many people are in your life or how busy your calendar is. It's about the quality of the relationships you nurture and the energy you choose to surround yourself with. We've explored 3 big questions today: admitting and owning your loneliness, recognizing that being surrounded by people doesn't always equal connection, and intentionally building real friendships as an adult. Each of these moments is a reminder that empowerment starts with you. When you acknowledge your feelings without judgment, take time for self-care and reflection, and show up intentionally in spaces and experiences that excite you, you naturally attract the people who resonate with your energy. Surround yourself with people who feel like sunshine, who lift you rather than drain you, and watch how your social world transforms. Your path to rising above loneliness is not about rushing or forcing connections. It's about baby steps. It's about conscious choices. And it's absolutely about self-awareness. Journal your feelings. Even reach out to a friend. Join a class. Join a group that excites you. And be brave enough to step outside your comfort zone. Because each small intentional action builds a bridge towards an empowered, authentic connection with others that truly nourishes your soul. The lesson here is clear. Loneliness is not something to hide from, fear, or to fix externally. It's an invitation. It's a signal guiding you to align your life, your energy, and your relationships with what truly matters to you. Stand in your power, honor your needs, and take intentional steps towards the people and experiences that lift you higher. And now let's lock it in with an affirmation. Start repeating after me. I am open to authentic connections. Write it down in your journal or post-it note and stick it where you can see it. I am open to authentic connections. Say it loud in front of a mirror, feeling it in your body. I am open to authentic connection. Take a deep breath and imagine yourself surrounded by people who uplift and nourish you. I am open to authentic connection. Carry that with you today. And remember, when you rise above loneliness and show up from a place of empowerment, the right people and opportunities naturally find their way to you. You are capable, you are ready, and your circle of genuine, soul-nourishing connections is waiting. Thank you for being here and stepping into your power with me today. I can't wait to see you next week for another empowering conversation. For daily inspiration and practical advice, find me on social media at Power Coach Suzie. Got questions or ideas for the show? Head to powercoachsuzie.com where you can connect with me, explore the blog, or learn more about what I do. This is Suzie signing off. Until next time, keep reading the signals and never, ever lower your standards.